Josiah thinks she'll be a client. I've never known him to be wrong. Do you have any idea what this is about? Geoffrey asked. None whatsoever. Now that I think back over the conversations we had on the ship, I realize how seldom Claire spoke about herself. I don't think I know much more than what Aunt Gillian was able to tell us. She's been a cover singer in opera companies in London and several European cities. Everyone expects she'll join the ranks of the divas before too much longer. Is that what opera understudies are called? Cover singers? Josiah served them coffee, warm milk, lumps of brown sugar, and a plate of pastries from a German bakery he passed on his way to work every morning. Exactly. I hadn't mentioned her before the tickets came because I thought it was likely to be one of those shipboard friendships that doesn't persist on the land, Prudence said. We met Miss Buchanan when we stayed with Aunt Gillian in London. It was a very long month. I don't think there was an exhibit or gallery anywhere in the city we didn't visit. Don't forget all the parks and museums, Geoffrey put in. I've never been so wet and cold in my life. You didn't complain about it then. It would have been churlish, and Lady Rotherton is not the type to tolerate bad manners. The week before we left, we went to Covent Garden to see a performance of Bizet's Carmen. Miss Buchanan was the cover singer for the title role, but she was buried in the chorus that night. There were always galas after a performance. Aunt Gillian brought us as her guest to one of the most exclusive. The Prince of Wales was expected, but I don't think he ever appeared. Did he, Geoffrey? You would have remembered if he had. The hostess at these affairs usually invites one or two members of the opera company. It's a sing-for-your-supper command performance. Claire told me later that no one turns down an invitation, even though they know they're only there to provide free entertainment. She said there's always the chance someone important will hear her sing and realize she's as good as the diva she's covering. Many of the younger women singers hope to snare a patron or protector. The hostess had requested arias by Donizetti and Rossini, so that's what she sang. Her voice is one of the loveliest sopranos I've ever heard, contributed Geoffrey. Rich and full, but not shrill or heavy. There was very little conversation while she performed. It was a great compliment given the amount of champagne flowing that night. My aunt introduced us, since we three were the only Americans at the soiree. I thought your aunt was American. Josiah looked confused. She was American a very long time ago. Now she's more English than the English, Prudence said. She couldn't remember whether the topic of her mother's sister had ever come up in the office. She thought it probably hadn't. Josiah was notoriously Anglophile. He would have remembered every detail of Lady Rotherton's story. Aunt Gillian married a title 20 years ago, well before Jenny Jerome made it the thing to do. Willie, as she always calls him, was chasing her fortune, and she was in the mood to be caught. He died in a shooting accident, and she became the Dowager Viscountess Rotherton within a year of the wedding. Since she hadn't given birth to an heir, the estate and the title passed to a distant cousin, but there was a clause in her marriage contract stipulating the return of her dowry and giving her tenancy of their London house for her lifetime. She didn't remarry, nor did she come back to America to live. Aunt Gillian is the kind of woman who takes carefully considered chances that usually turn out to be sure things. My father told me that within a few years of Lord Rotherton's passing, she doubled and then redoubled the value of her portfolio, with no guidance except the financial section of the London Times and shrewd common sense. He said she thinks of herself as a Hetty Green, with good jewelry and a title. From what I observed while we were there, a wealthy widow can lead a very fine life in Victoria's London, even though the Queen herself has been in mourning for as long as anyone can remember. Geoffrey helped himself to one of the pastries. Gillian returned to America only twice after she married, once to dance at my mother's wedding, and then to mourn at her funeral. She said she remembered me as a beautiful 6-year-old child who reminded her so painfully of her younger sister that she fled back to London as soon as decently possible. Prudence paused. Nevertheless, she offered to chaperone me here in New York. I couldn't decide whether she's become bored with London society or tired of the winter weather. You turned her down? Josiah's sense of what was fitting and proper had long been offended by Miss Prudence's decision to live alone after her stepmother's fortuitous death. If he hadn't been afraid of unforgivably offending